She's done it again, written an incredibly valuable and deep book. I have a sense that Brené Brown's new book, Atlas of the Heart, is going to have a lasting impact on how we talk about our innermost experiences. And in this video, I want to share my top 10 takeaways from Atlas of the Heart with you. Hey everyone, welcome here. I'm Maika. This is Becoming an Expert at Self-Leadership, a channel about empowering ourselves by understanding ourselves better and using that knowledge to achieve our goals. Atlas of the Heart is the most condensed book I've ever listened to by Brené Brown. There's so much good stuff in there. The title of the book expresses what it's about. It contains a metaphorical map of 87 different emotions and experiences that are mixed with or similar to emotions. So the reader learns about different human emotions, what they're called, and how they're different from similar experiences. Knowing about emotions like this is a fundamental skill of processing emotions. It helps us understand what's going on, accept it, calm down, and find our way. It's also tremendously important for our connections to other people, to be able to communicate what's going on inside of us, and to be able to understand and have empathy with others. So, here are my top 10 takeaways. Number 1, we underestimate the power of freudenfreude. Freudenfreude is a word creation that is derived from the German word Schadenfreude, which means to take pleasure in someone else's pain. So freudenfreude means to be happy for someone. And the power of freudenfreude is that it maintains and strengthens relationships and boosts your mood. If someone isn't able to be excited for their friends and celebrate their successes with them, that will likely break the relationship at some point. And that contributes, if it happens repeatedly, to depression. And that is likely why research has found that people who experience more freudenfreude are less depressed, and why getting better at freudenfreude boosts people's moods and improves their relationships. I spoke about this in detail a few weeks ago. I'll link the video up here if you want to dive deeper into this topic. Number 2, compassion connects, pity disconnects. Pity can look like compassion, but it has the exact opposite effect. Compassion is an expression of shared humanity and connection that makes people feel seen, understood, connected, and supported. Pity is feeling sorry for someone from a distance, but it's not about loving that person. It's subtly about, I'm better than you. And pity makes people feel isolated. Number 3, empathy isn't walking in someone else's shoes. Empathy is understanding what someone else is feeling. And here comes the important part, from that person's perspective. Empathy is listening to what it's like to be wearing those shoes for that person, not imagining what it would be like for me to be wearing those shoes. We can try to imagine what it's like wearing someone else's shoes, but we're never going to get to the bottom of what they're experiencing, not 100%. So if we want to have full empathy, it's a lot more helpful to listen to what they share from their perspective and ask questions rather than just sitting there and imagining what it would be like for us. Number 4, love is the last thing we need to ration in this world. This is my favorite quote from the book, and it comes up in connection to comparative suffering, which is when we compare pain and try to ration the amount of empathy a certain amount of pain deserves. But here's the thing. Someone who is suffering more is not going to benefit when we withhold empathy and compassion from someone else or ourselves. Everyone benefits from the healing that occurs when pain, no matter how small or big it is is honored and responded to with empathy. Number 5, shame is the cause, not the cure. Unethical behavior, self-aggrandizing behavior is driven almost always by shame. Seemingly shameless behavior is almost never shameless, but it's driven by a sense of lacking self-worth and fear. And it can't be unlearned by more shame, by making that person feel worthless or ashamed of who they are. The cure is accountability and empathy. Number 6, disconnection is inevitable. Connection is one of the core motivations for humans, and when we experience disconnection, it's very painful. At the same time, a certain amount of disconnection is inevitable in relationships. This is when someone is hurt, excluded, invalidated, or misunderstood. When we think of these instances as being inevitable, it's much easier to accept them and approach them proactively. If we learn to work through and address these instances, it's not only that they won't be a burden anymore, we can even grow from them. And that leads right into the next takeaway. Number 7, acknowledging hurt is hard but necessary. Brené Brown wrote, "I'm not sure there's a braver sentence in the catalog of brave human sentences than 'my feelings got hurt.' But instead of saying that, we pout, we vent, we try to hurt the other person's feelings too. We adapt our inner narrative so that at some point it seems like it made sense that we got hurt. Often this is the whole plot in movies. Someone gets hurt, but instead of talking about it, they come up with some scheme that ultimately fails. And then at the end of the movie, they start communicating, and that leads to the happy end. Maybe we can do ourselves the favor and stop the scheming part more often. Number 8, get comfortable with your, quote, cracks and messiness. Even when someone has a healthy sense of self-worth and self-esteem, they can be insecure. This happens when we are overly critical and judgmental of our weaknesses. This makes us less successful at being in relationships because we push others away or we retreat from them out of fear of getting hurt. We're less willing to be vulnerable and experience relationship conflict. So get comfortable with your messiness, be open to it, accept it in a non-judgmental way, and in that way you'll be more secure and successful at relationships. Number 9, joy is the most vulnerable human emotion. This wasn't the first time I heard Brené Brown talk about this, but I find it striking every single time. Think about all of the instances in which we hold joy back and stay at that safe distance of, I don't care about that, or I'm skeptical of this, masked as equanimity and rationality. Why do we do that? Because joy makes us vulnerable. It's scary to be openly joyful about something. What if I lose what gives me joy? What if I'm exposed? What if I'm disappointed? Being able to experience joy requires practicing the courage that comes from allowing ourselves to be vulnerable. Number 10, the enemy of courage is armor, not fear. We usually think that what's keeping us from doing the things that are important to us and being courageous is fear, but that's not it. The enemy of courage are the emotions coming from our protector self. the ineffective things we do, often unconsciously and habitually, to avoid loss and hurt, but that end up subtracting positive emotions from our life. We can be fearful and still act in alignment with our values when we learn to recognize, make room for, and process discomfort, fear, uncertainty, and vulnerability. Have you read or listened to Atlas of the Heart? If yes, maybe you would like to share your top takeaways in the comment section with us. There are so many deep thoughts in this book. I wouldn't be surprised if someone else's takeaways didn't overlap with mine at all. Thanks for being here. If you're new here, consider subscribing for more self-leadership content in the future. Till next time, take care and remember to find words for what's going on inside of you.